Today I will be critiquing a book, The Illustrated Man by Ray Bradbury, which is a collection of short stories. At a campfire one night, a man named Walter meets the Illustrated Man, a man covered in very defined and detailed tattoos. So obviously the story takes place at a campfire in the nighttime, but the Illustrated Man also warns Walter that at night the tattoos will come to life and tell stories of the future. And each story kind of represents a tattoo from the Illustrated Man. The short stories in the book aren't necessarily connected in any certain way, but the concept of the Illustrated Man is a way to pull them all into the same world. Bradbury does fit a lot of stories in his 300-page book, yet none of the stories ever feel incomplete or cut off in a way. Each story has a clear plot and timeline of what's happening, which is nice to the reader's eye. I already could tell I would be sucked into the Illustrated Man as I started reading, just by the first story, The Veldt, which is a very dark story, and I enjoyed that type of reading. Plus, it also set the tone for the rest of the book. As I read farther along, I noticed that each story has no relations to each other, yet Bradbury does use this type of unique writing and connects them all with an illusion, as if they are the same, but they're all just basically related to the same theme, but the plot of the stories have nothing to do with each other. It's a bit confusing at some points, and it's kind of hard to understand what I'm explaining, but basically it's that none of the stories really relate to each other, but they all end up leading to one concept, which is technology. As I stated, Bradbury's writing is very unique and is worded in a very unique way, but in this particular story, I think that the main theme of it is that technology greatly affects the future in a negative way. As I read farther along, I noticed that most of the endings of the story ended up being really dark, and I think the reason to that dark endings were that the negative technology and the dangers of technology. A favorite short story of mine from The Illustrated Man was Marionettes, Inc. The form of technology in this story is actually a marionette, which is basically a clone of you or someone just exactly them. In this short story, I did not feel any sort of way towards the characters in the sense that I was not on anyone's side or not. This short story mainly related to the emotional reactions to the theme of the story. It was more mutual in a way. I really enjoyed the story though because it had a dark ending and dark theme, but it didn't really focus on any good or bad characters, so I didn't really have a great opinion on the characters and more just on the events that were going on. Lastly, I just want to point out that most authors don't usually keep a consistent theme throughout stories, especially when they're writing short stories. It's different when you're talking about just one story that keep a consistent theme, but with short stories in a book, there's usually not one consistent thing. But I think Bradbury did a really good job keeping each story revolving around the theme of the dangers of technology. I appreciate this type of writing because it makes it easier to keep on track with the point of the book, and it also makes it less confusing. Overall, I really enjoyed this book and all the short stories within it, and I would definitely recommend reading The Illustrated Man if you are a higher level reader. Thank you!